All right, Amber here, and today I'm answering questions specific to episode 6 of season 3 of The Wheel of Time. You know the drill. Like and subscribe, and let's jump into it. The first question comes from PH Balanced Shorty, and they write, how could Ishamael visit a young Liandrin if he wasn't released until Rand let him out, like a year ago? Well, according to the world of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, Ishamael's imprisonment was not absolute like the other Forsaken. There was a manuscript by Aaron, son of Milan, that suggests Ishamael was only partially trapped after he was sealed into the boar. This allowed him to remain aware and also allowed him to interact with the world. Much later, there were claims and testimonies from Darkfriends who stated that Ishamael gave them instructions way before he was officially released, as early as 983 NE. When this information became known, it worked to support the theory that he had periods of freedom or influence long before Rand's era. So it's entirely plausible that he could have influenced or visited a young Liandrin during one of these earlier periods of partial freedom. The way that Ishamael kind of flickers in the scene with young Liandrin feels like a clue to what they were trying to show. Moving to the next question from The Void Less, who writes, so basically, most of the Forsaken spent 3,000 years dreamwalking and building up Darkfriend networks. And this builds on the first question. From all that we know, Ishamael was the only Forsaken who wasn't fully sealed. But as to Ishamael using dreamwalking to create his Darkfriend networks, the answer is unclear, but it's a very plausible theory. The text referenced sightings, encounters, and direct communication with Darkfriends, but it doesn't directly say the method he used. He was either there physically in the flesh, speaking to them through dreams, or maybe even through some type of communication with the One Power. So while dreamwalking is a possible explanation, it's not confirmed. All we know is that he was able to touch the world, which could include many options. It's very open-ended. The next question is from Nick the Postpunk 5766, who asks, why was Liandrin deliberately able to go into the world of dreams? I thought most people, including most Aes Sedai, couldn't do that. And you're totally right. Most people cannot do this. Dreamwalking and entering the world of dreams is a very rare talent. To me, what seems most plausible is that Liandrin was using a sleepweaver. These are ter'angreal that provide the user access to Tel'aran'rhiod. They differ by shape and material. Some require channeling of spirit, and some require no channeling at all. These are all very old artifacts that were made during the Age of Legends. And when Naomi raided the 13th Depository in episode 1, we actually see some of them. Liandrin most likely had possession of one. It's also very possible that Lanfear just visited Liandrin in her dreams, similar to how, with Egwene's help, Moiraine was able to visit Siuan Sanche in her dream. The next comment is from Gups 4963, and it contains a very slight spoiler for The Fires of Heaven, Book 5. So if you don't want to hear it, move ahead to the next question. So Gups writes, they have to get Lews Therin to start chatting with Rand. He is too far behind in everything. And I can see where you're coming from, but you might be misremembering at what point in the book series that Rand actually starts to hear Lews Therin's thoughts. This season takes material from the Shadow Rising Book 4, but the first clear instance Rand hears the voice isn't until the next book, The Fires of Heaven, Book 5. It happens in Chapter 2, titled Ruidion. To quote it, Ileana never flashed her temper at me when she was angry with herself. When she gave me the rough side of her tongue, it was because his mind froze for an instant. He had never met a woman named Ileana in his life, but he could summon up a face for the name dimly. A pretty face, skin like cream, golden hair, exactly the shade of Elaine's. This had to be the madness. And this feels like the most clear cut and arguable moment of first contact, so to speak. And if we go even further ahead, I'd say the voice of Lews Therin doesn't become fully active until Lord of Chaos Book 6. So personally, I think Rand is right on track with the books at this point, and season 4 would be where he actually starts to really hear things. Also, I'd recommend rewatching episode 6 again, because during Rand's showdown with Samael, if you pay really close attention, it sounds like someone is whispering to him while he's channeling. It's a fun theory that he's actually hearing Lews. So I'd argue that Rand isn't too far behind in that department. The next question comes from @Danishmel on the topic of Matt's sisters. They ask, when did we find out they were twins? Because he had 2 sisters in the books, but they aren't twins. I'm okay with them being twins, I just don't remember this ever being said. And you're right, I don't think it was ever explicitly stated that they are twins, but they look the same age and they look identical. And I looked it up, and the actresses who play Bodwin and Eldrin are Litiana and Lilibet Butanaseva, who are identical twins in real life. After digging around on the internet, it does state on the Wheel of Time fandom wiki that the characters are twins. Like I said in my breakdown of episode 6, I do think this is a really cool idea because twins share a strong connection. I think exploring how they channel could be fun, specifically if they are just intrinsically available to always be linked to form a channeling circle, which would boost the output of their power. Book Bodwin is a very strong channeler as it stands, but playing around with the magic system and building on it within the rules of what Robert Jordan already laid out always gets me excited. The next question comes from W. Scott LY4RT, who writes, during the breakup scene, the writers invested a significant amount of time having Rand emphasize his belief Egwene always wanted more, even beyond his now demigod status. Wanted more of what or whom is he talking about? The quality of the relationship or... And I like this comment because the relationship is complex. It's a little different in the books, but my interpretation was that Rand thinks he's not good enough for Egwene, that no matter what he could provide in the relationship, it would never be enough. When he was a shepherd, she wanted to be a wisdom, a job that doesn't lend time for being in a relationship. When they leave the 2 rivers behind, she is no longer going to become a wisdom. So maybe now they stand a chance. Wrong. Now she wants to be an Aes Sedai. And now, even with him basically having the status of a demigod, she's busy becoming a wise one's apprentice. Her goals and aspirations come first to her, and there's nothing wrong with that. And even in the books, their paths are very similar in terms of achievements. It's very parallel, only where Egwene embraces and strives for power and position and education in every aspect, Rand typically pushes it away or is reluctant. In his eyes, Egwene would never have been satisfied as just a wife. She's too goal-oriented. Even now that he's the Dragon Reborn, she's just too busy. It's just never going to work, and Rand is grieving that loss. The last question comes from @Conct11D, who writes, wait, Liandrin becomes a Darkfriend before going to the tower? How can she take the oaths after that? So there's a couple ways to talk about this, and there are some things we need to point out first to get the answer. Anyone can be a Darkfriend, but not everyone can be in the Black Aja. It's a special distinction. And the Black Aja was started by Ishamael. It's his very special baby. And my interpretation is that it is only possible for Aes Sedai to swear their dark oaths afterwards. You have to be an Aes Sedai to join the Black Aja. Before we get any further, what I'm about to say is a spoiler for Winter's Heart. So when a woman becomes an Aes Sedai, they swear their oaths on the Oath Rod, a ter'angreal that compels them to adhere to the 3 oaths, no matter what. It's actually kind of similar to compulsion. Then, when the Aes Sedai becomes a member of the Black Aja, they use the Oath Rod to unswear their Aes Sedai oaths and then take their Black oaths. Liandrin can absolutely enter the tower as a Darkfriend. If I recall correctly, Darkfriends in the books don't take the Black Aja oaths. They could turn back to the side of the light if they chose to, unless they were forced to swear on a binder, the same device as an oath rod. So that wraps things up. As always, if you'd like to help support the channel, check out Road to Tar Valon on Patreon or YouTube memberships. You can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Discord. And a very special thanks to Marcus Trent, C, and John Adiemi. This one's for you. I hope you enjoyed this one. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you back next time.